Hello,
So you just put it there. You just put it there.
Hello and welcome to Fools Rush In, STFC podcast. For the last time in this guise, because this Friday, as we've announced, we go live for the first time and we can show off all of our new branding and other ideas that we've got that we've been working long and hard over the summer. So we hope that you can join us 8:30 this Friday on the eve of the new season kicking off. It should be a good one. But as you can see, I've got a full panel to go through our season previews tonight. So let's start with the hellos. Dancing in one corner, we have Big Time Ben. How are you, pal?
Hi, Fee. I'm very well. I'm looking forward to this evening. Yes, the eve of a new season.
Eve of the new season, indeed. In the other corner, also sporting a little lotto number with the full long sleeve as well. It's Ned. How are you, pal?
Yeah, good. Thanks. You all right, Fifey?
I am very, very well. Gracing us with his appearance tonight, one of the busiest men in the whole of the Southwest. Evening, Warren.
Evening, gents. Always good to be back.
Always good to have you here. And there, as I'm looking at him, centre screen, we have Mark. How are you, pal?
I'm very well, Stephen. Thank you. Again, absolutely buzzing to be here, and even more buzzing because we're on the countdown to our live show.
We are very much on the countdown. And our newest panelist continues his string of appearances in a row. Hello, Nick. How are you, pal?
Yeah, really well. Looking forward to tonight. Just getting ready for Friday.
Very much so. And then we have a man who is looking possibly even more tanned than he did last time he was on. Evening, Craig.
Yeah, evening, Fifey. No, it's not a tan. I was just in the steam room at the gym for too long this afternoon.
What it is. And then a man who he logged on a little bit later than everyone else because he had to go and get his hair and beard done just for this purely. Welcome back, Woody.
Bonjour. Glad to be back after nearly a month's absence.
And we are delighted to have you back, fresh and ready for the new season. Gents, welcome. It's predictions time. We are looking ahead to the new season and looking ahead to Friday's live episode. So let's get straight into it. And we put a couple of surveys out on our socials asking other fans their opinions on a couple of key topics, which I wanted to get your opinions on. The first one, and Woody, I'll start with you, is who's going to be number one. We all are very much of the opinion, that there's probably contractual things included with the loan signing of Bryn, but in our vote that we did, it was a simple Bryn or Ward, and with 89%, Ward was the popular vote to be number one. Do you understand why the fans are back in the man that was here last year?
Yeah, I think, and also based on the pre-season performances as well, if I'm really honest, I don't feel like I've seen enough from Bryn to warrant saying he would be our number one. Although, as you mentioned, should we be having a keeper on loan that we're not going to put as number one? That being said, we might do. We've done it before. We've had players in on loan, goalkeepers, defenders that have sat on the bench. I think, if I remember right, wasn't Bender on the bench for a couple of games before he started playing.
Yeah.
And I just think, given that we're in the same, and we had this discussion at the end of last season, given that we're in the same division, I almost still feel it'd be unjust to chuck Ward out of it. I think he's talented enough goalkeeper. He loves the club, so he's going to play with his heart on his sleeve. I think I'm not surprised that Ward would be number one. That should be number one, but will he be? Again, it's a contractual argument. I mean, was it Middlesbrough Matey Boys come from?
Yeah.
Two leagues above. If it was a League One lone goalkeeper, I'd probably understand him sat on the bench. But as he's a Championship, keeper, he'd probably be our number one. I don't see him as talented as Ward as it stands. He might be one day, but not at the moment.
Well, just quickly, as I look at the whole panel, is there anyone here who thinks Bryn should be going in as number one? Or are we all sort of Team Ward going in?
I don't think he should be going in as number one, but Woody's alluded to it about the loan, and I haven't been to the friendlies this season, so I'd be interested to know what you boys think. But from what you hear about Lindsay, I think this could be going back to the days of Williams where we played out from the back properly. And I think it's going to be, I think we're going to look at a keeper that who's best with their feet and who's good at distribution. And could Bryn be better than Ward? And if he is, I think he might get the nod, because if he's better with his feet, we're going to be playing the ball out from the back. I think it's a massive thing that Lindsay wants to do. I wouldn't be surprised if Bryn gets ahead of Ward. But like I say, whether I think he should is a different question, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bryn starts.
I think, you know, I want Ward to be number one, but I agree with you, Warren. I don't think he will be. Remember, when Ward was brought in, he wasn't even a Ben Garner signing. He was, you know, he was signed even before we got, what's his name, the 1 month wonder as manager. But I'd be really disappointed if he ends up being the number 2 keeper. I don't think he should be. The other guy, Bryn, should be number 1 just because we've brought him in on loan. It's a waste of a loan space. I mean, what more does Ward have to do to have the number 1 spot? The amount of points he won us last season, we wouldn't have got into the playoffs if it wasn't for him. The penalty saves he's made, that save against Forest Green, which was Gordon Banks-esque, that was, you know, and he's improved with the ball at his feet. He can play it out. He might not be as good as Bryn with the ball at his feet, but everything else, we got to remember that, you know, a goalkeeper's main job is to be a shot stopper. And I don't think there's many goalkeepers that are better than him in League Two. And he started to, like I said, towards the end of last season, he improved with the ball at his feet. So I think if he works on that game even more, he could. It
must be something they're doing massively pre-season. He must be working on it. Do you know what I mean? They must both be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
If you saw the highlights or attended the game against Woking, there were 5 clear 1v1 chances where Bryn saved the ball every single time when their player was clean through. So he does have a huge amount of ability. Having said that, that first half performance against Cardiff, all joking aside, nobody can come out of that. I'm not interested in the score at all, but nobody can come out of that first half and say that they actually played well. I mean, Harry's made a fairly suicidal mistake back to Bryn. You could see the kid's head drop after that. And that's the only thing really that worried me. Yes, a mistake happened, but it's how they react when those issues occur, which is where I think Ward is naturally going to have the upper hand because he's got a few more years experience behind him. And the second half, when he came on and played against Cardiff, the team looks a lot more assured at the back. So that gives me more confidence to suggest that Ward would be the correct choice.
No, it certainly is interesting, and it goes back to something that we all spoke about the back end of last season. If you think about the upturn in form with the centre backs, you know, we had Boardroom, we had Conroy at the time, and their form improving. It seemed to coincide with Ward being between the sticks as well, I felt. So could he have that calming influence on the defenders like you were mentioning there, Mark? It's certainly a point worth considering.
And with Ward, he at least commands his 6-yard box, and that was the problem we had with Willicott. He was poor, good shot stopper, but he just didn't command his 6-yard box. And Ward then does that, which gives the centre halves confidence. So, like everybody else has said, I think he probably deserves to start, but you would have assumed that Bryn would be in as he's on a season-long loan. So maybe as Ward will start and then Bryn will be pushing him, and you know we could then get even better out of Ward. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how it pans out. Okay.
The next 2 questions kind of go hand in hand. So again, I'm interested in your views, and Ben, once I've done it, well, we'll start with you, I think, because you know, allowing everyone to have their say on it. So the first one was, how many players do people still think are needed to complete the current squad? 0 got 0% of the vote. No one's ever going to say 0, are they, to that sort of question? More than 5 only getting 2%. So people think we're more or less there. And then it was relatively close. Between 3 and 5 got 36% of the vote, and 1 or 2 getting 62% of the vote. Do you think we're that close, Ben?
I do. When you think about it, I think any more players and it gets a little bit more compact, and we're going to have to start shifting one or two out a little bit because it's going to be quite a large squad and you've got to keep people happy. I do think we're short in the going forwards area. I think we have got, a number of strikers in Wakeling and co that have come in, but I think there's a lack of league goals other than McCurdy and league appearances. So we probably do need, my personal view, of sort of a Marquis-esque, been there, done that, not over the hill, but a name for this kind of level to spearhead our attack. For me, that's enough. Maybe possibly another left back or left wing back, but I think we're pretty much there, which is rare because this is the first time that I can remember being a Swindon fan that we go into the season not needing 5 or 6. So
it's interesting, actually, you say that, because the second part of that was, what area do people still think requires strengthening? And so goalkeeper got 0%. People seem quite content with goalkeeper. Defence 5%, midfield 2%, 93% of people saying attackers. Warren, when you sort of look down the squad list, do you agree with Ben? Is it attack that we need that sort of spearhead there now to complete the squad?
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, you just need that marquee that's going to give everyone a boost, and it always seems to be a striker in that position that gives everyone that lift. I don't think it's fair at the moment to judge, the young lad that's come from Leicester, he's looked lively in pre-season from what I've heard, and the new lad from Ayr, who was out of contract, who was with Ayr, we haven't seen enough of him yet. But he's of that mould of a striker that we need. I think we're all going to accept that McCurdy's going to start if he's fit and not suspended, or So I feel like if we're going to play this 3-5-2 or 2 at the top end of the pitch, we need someone of that sort of workhorse, maybe that, but that's going to, so McCurdy can work off someone that's going to do, not that McCurdy doesn't work hard, but you feel like we just need that someone that's going to be that presence to hold the ball
Works
up
differently.
Yeah, that's it. Brings other people into play. I think it was something massive that we need last year. I don't think you always need an out-and-out goal scorer. You need someone that's going to be there and is going to hold the ball, bring others into play. I think we've got enough goals that could come from midfield this year. And I honestly think that you just need someone up there, that big presence, especially in League Two, that can go up against some of these big centre halves, and that's what we need.
Not putting any pressure on you because you haven't prepped it, but Mark, Ned, I know you two are very keen on keeping tabs on sort of movements around the league. Is there any sort of striker still on the list that either of you two would say fits the mould? I can see Ned's nodding away already.
You go first, Mark.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one that definitely fits the mould, and there are still rumours suggesting that maybe talks have taken place, is Tyrese Simpson. He's the type of striker that we need up there, someone with a bit of physical presence, someone that's not going to get pushed off the ball. I mean, with all due respect to Harry McCurdy, he's not really an out-and-out striker in the front two. He's more of a wide, creative player that likes to drop deep, almost like a false 9, to come and get on the ball. Wakeling looks like he could be a good foil for whoever's up there, and similarly couldn't really say much on the lad from Ayr at the moment because we've not really seen enough minutes. But it's that physical presence, somebody that you can get the ball to that can hold it up. I was gutted that we missed out on Josh Davison, if I'm honest, and I know he's a Marmite figure amongst the fans, but his goal return was really good last year, and he's a big physical player.
Well, Woody was his biggest cheerleader, let's be honest.
Absolutely.
And then Lee Peacock.
Ned, anyone else you want to throw in the ring?
Oh, yes.
St. Care, it comes.
So, I mean, I think we need one, but I would like 2.
Okay.
I would like to see another sort of a player, like a player who can play on the out wide, in that sort of McCurdy role, maybe on the other side, or possibly even double up as a wing back possibly as well, or even an attacking midfielder. So that's what I would. That's like
someone
the
who can literally play in about 10 positions there, Ned.
Well, essentially, yeah. But if you've got someone who's who could run at players, then in the Swindon side they could slot into about 4 different positions, couldn't they? So that's the kind of player that I was thinking I wouldn't mind getting in. And obviously we've got into this little habit of buying players who possibly have only a year left on their contract. So we've done a little research, find out who's in the final years of their contract. But there was a couple of freebies who I like. I've said before I like Izzy Brown. I think he would be a really, really good signing. I fully suspect that he'll probably go to Championship or League One at the very minimum. But Daniel Azani as well. I think he'll be. He fits our sort of experienced. Comes from a good pedigree of Man City's academy. Australian as well, which obviously is a nice little sweetener for Clem.
Where's he at?
So he is on a free at the moment. He's 23. So he's played I made a list of it. He's played in Belgium, Denmark, Holland, and last year I believe was in Scotland. So I quite like the look of him. He would slot into the that sort of mold that I said about the wide players. And a freebie striker, I can't see anything wrong with us going for someone like Mark McNulty. I think he was it Dundee United last year, for the last 2 years, I think. So I mean, maybe that's the kind of
we've been linked with him in the past, haven't we, McNulty? Is it how old is he now?
29.
29.
Which is a little bit too old for the criteria, but you never know if they wanted to get someone in on the cheap.
McDonald's 29, so they're not. It would be a statement.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot. There's a lot going for him for us to get someone like that in. But then also for those little players on their last year of their contract, I would like to see Swindon possibly going for someone. Obviously, this is a bit sort of bit of a long stretch, but Tyler Smith, he's only got a year left in his contract. I'd like to see him back. And I sing his praises every year, but Randall Williams, they're obviously both at Hull. I like both of them. And from Luton, a little outsider, Dion Pereira, he would fit into that sort of wide player. He was at Bradford last year, wasn't he?
Last year.
On loan. So he's in the final year of his contract as well. And I think that we could make the most out of him if he could stay fit.
Well, it's fascinating stuff. And it's not like you haven't named somebody who has ended up joining before, is it, Ned? So I'm looking forward to seeing whether one or two of these names may be pulling on a Swindon shirt in the not too distant future. There was one more question thrown up for fans to vote on, and it leads us in nicely to the main topic of tonight's episode, and it's where do people believe we are and we could finish. So the options they were given were automatic promotion, playoff contenders, mid-table obscurity, and relegation candidates. I'm pleased to say only 2% of people voted relegation candidates. Then we had 18% of people believe automatic promotion. 25% of people said mid-table obscurity, or 55% of people said playoff contention. So let's start with us. It makes sense. Do we agree? Are we all looking at playoff contention? I mean, on the episode I did the other day with the Friends of Fools Rush In, I said that ever the optimist, I still think we can challenge for automatic, personally. Let's go in the order as you appear on the screen for this one. So, Ben, what are you saying at time of recording?
Right now, with the squad, considering we get a decent striker in, I think playoffs is realistic in and around the playoffs. The squad is quite young, and with that, you're getting consistency. We may start quite slowly because there's been a bit of a rebuild. It's possible that we can challenge top three, but I think we're going to sort of be where we are last season and finish sort of sixth-ish.
Okay, Ned?
I mean, the realistic answer is playoffs, but I don't see why we shouldn't finish in the top three because, and I'll give my reasons. Last year, our style of football destroyed so many teams. I think, your Northamptons of this world, You know, we'll play a similar style to Wimbledon. We'll play a similar style to Stevenage. And I think we've got the height now to tackle them teams and bully them back, not just get bullied. So on that basis, I feel like we're going to learn from last year. And I think that those types of games that we're going to turn them over this time instead of them turning us over. So I honestly believe as long as we, you know, play our attacking football, we don't have too many horrific injuries, we don't get rid of McCurdy, I think we should be looking in the top 3. That's my personal opinion.
Okay. Was it?
Hey, I agree with Ned. The difference this year is that we have a leader. McDonald is a leader, and you know what I mean? And this is going to be a massive difference for us this year. Like, I wasn't a Conroy hater, don't get me wrong, but this is the skipper mould. This guy is what we've needed. This is what we've been crying out for in League Two. You know what I mean? He's got pedigree. You know what I mean? He's massive for us. You know what I mean? And we've got a bit more experience and a bit more know-how now this year on how this league is going to work out. I agree with Ned's point. I think we've got a bit more physicality in us. You know what I mean? Even with the Khan signing in the midfield, I think that's massive as well. Yeah, I honestly can't see any. I'd be disappointed if we're not in the playoffs. And I would be saying that, like Ben said, if we can get that striker in just to boost that front line, I can't see no reason why we shouldn't be challenging the top 3. I don't think the league is any stronger, or you know what I mean, than what it was last year.
I don't know. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a good league this year.
Yeah, good league, but we're a good side. You know what I mean? I don't see no reason why we can't be up there again. No reason at all.
No, absolutely. How about you, Mark? Where are you sitting at this point?
At this moment in time, I have to go against the grain slightly. I think with the large turnover of players, I don't expect us to see the instant cohesion that we maybe need to have that start. And I believe that the results are going to be sketchy. And I think if you go by the mistakes made in the first half against Cardiff, I think that's quite a pragmatic view. Now, in terms
He's come out with an excuse for that, though.
Well, yeah, I'm just going to call it as I say. I don't think at the moment. I think, if I'm honest, I think the ratio still feels a little too high towards youth and not enough towards the guile and history of the division for us to be considered a serious playoff contender. I want to be proven wrong. I think replacing Jack Payne's goals and assists is a massive hole to fill. And it'd be interesting to see who steps up and takes that mantle on. I'm not saying that nobody can do, but it's a worry that I have at the moment as to we need that player, we need that kind of performance to achieve it. And obviously, with the commitment to play the same style that we've been playing, there will be a familiarity that our opponents will use against us. We can't instantly expect us to go out and steamroll some of the teams that we did last year. So we'll need to work a lot harder to achieve that result. And I hope that our discipline is better as a result. And I also still have a question mark as to whether McCurdy will be here come the end of the transfer window. I mean, he's got a year left on his contract, and obviously the club is still building towards sustainability. And without him, where are the goals going to come from? So that's not me being negative in any way, stretch the imagination. I'm just trying to be pragmatic. But as it has to be said, it's one of the larger sides of the division. Anything other than promotion, or at least competing for promotion, should be considered a failure. I can't say that any clearer. Yeah. And whilst I understand we are preparing for the long term, we really should be doing so from the division above. That being said, I do feel at this current moment in time that we will fall short this season. And I can't put the number on it, but I think we're going to finish between 9th and 12th.
Okay. I mean, you sat on the fence that much and changed which side of it you were going to drop. It was quite amusing. You're normally a lot more. This is what I think. This is why.
Yeah, it's. I won't lie. It's been a tricky one. But again, I'm starting to think. I don't want. The thing that worries me is that the fans have this massive expectation after the fact that we really did overachieve last year.
No, we didn't.
But in the time
absolutely did not overachieve last year.
Could you? I
still think we underachieved last year with the squad we had.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, I will agree with you because there were a couple of results that we shouldn't have lost, and bearing in mind that 1 3-point turn against one of the sides we lost about, we would have gone up in 3rd place. Yeah. And obviously, we can't change history, and we got what we deserved, and we finished where we finished. but don't get me wrong, I think this might just be one season too early. I think we're building the club the right way up. We're looking to, have a good season as best as we can. Some of these players will then be sold on for money. We'll then reinvest and have a proper tilt here next year. That's just where I'm at the moment. Saying that, if they go out and sign Simpson and they go out and sign somebody that blows my socks off, i.e. in the Jack Payne position, I'll be turning around and saying we're going to piss the league because I'm that fickle as a fan.
Mate, there's absolutely nobody ever need defend to having an opinion. The whole reason everyone loves football is because we can all watch the same game and have different opinions. Absolutely. But I very rarely pull anything up that you've said, Mark, and think, do you know what? That doesn't sit right with me. The only thing that I've really heard there that I don't agree with is that it's one season early, because that's what everyone said about last year. We were one season too early in the big Clem picture. We can't now be one season too early again, because we're one season on from one season too early. It's this year or not at all, really, if you look at it like that. But that's just me having a different viewpoint from where you are.
I do understand, completely understand that viewpoint. I just think and going by what Gabe had written in his report earlier, because that was kind of the final nail in the coffin for me when I read it. I know what he said, but I read that and actually thought a lot of that resonates with some of my counter arguments and me thinking, well, we're going to win the autos and all the rest of it. And I guess it put me on a downer, so you can blame Gabe.
There's a few
Gabe's talking out of his ass. He said Trammy. Gabe's speaking out of his ass. He says Trammy is going to win the league.
Yeah,
I don't even think they're going to get in the top 12. So don't listen to Gabe, for fuck's sake.
Well, the thing is, football is all about opinions, because the guys over at the City event have released an episode, and I'll be honest, I haven't watched it, but we got tagged in it purely for lols, because somebody involved in that has predicted Swindon to be in the relegation battle. And so, by all means, if someone wants to go and watch that and listen to that opinion, I'd love to understand the reasoning behind it. If it's because a couple of people have gone to Charlton, well, it's ridiculous. But let's get back on topic, because there's a lot of things that we could all get on our high horse about. Nick, where are you thinking we're going to finish at this time?
I'm along with Ned. I've got us to finish third, and I think a lot of people are predicting that we're going to struggle. We seem to be going under the radar. A lot of the bookies are not looking at us as favourites. And the main reason I say we'll get third is we've got such a strong bench this season compared to last. Last season, we had nobody to come off the bench. And I think there are two things that killed us last season. One, we didn't have a good enough squad. We had a good enough team. Then the January transfer window, where all our players got recalled, that absolutely killed us. We've got two loanees. The rest of them are our players. We can control that. So I've got us finishing third. And one thing I'll just add to it, I've got Tranmere finishing top.
She was making so many valid points.
You are now invalid. Cut him off.
Can we reconsider having Nick on the panel?
Someone's got to be the dark horse.
Craig, let's come to you, pal. What are you thinking at the moment? Are you alongside the likes of me and Ned saying promotion contenders? You being a bit more pragmatic like Ben and saying playoffs, or are you going to be really negative like Mark and say no?
No, I'm mostly with Mark, but I don't think that's
Craig.
I don't think that's being negative. I think that's being realistic, to be honest. One thing that hasn't been mentioned so far is the strength of the league, which is much stronger than last season, definitely, without a doubt.
No, Warren, was it not Warren who said?
Yeah, it was Warren who doesn't think it, which is, that's fine. Everyone's got their opinion, but I think it was a miss. I've said this before. It was a missed opportunity last season.
Absolutely.
But I think I agree with Mark. This is going to be, unfortunately, a season where we're in transition. There's too many unknowns with the amount of players we've brought in. We're all praising it, including myself, about this Moneyball analytical approach, which is fine. It's a sustainable approach. but it means it's going to take time. And I think this season, it's with the players we got in. I don't think the squad's that much stronger than what we had last season with the players we've had leave, and that was only good enough to get us into 7th place. The squad we had last season. So I think we are in a weaker position until we've played a few games. A lot of these players have played enough games and we can see what they're about. And like Mark, I'd love to be proved wrong. And we still have the flexibility in the January transfer window to probably spend money and bring in players on loan. So, it could all turn around. But I think at the moment, state of play with it is with the squad and the approach that the club is making, which I'm not criticising them for. I like Lindsay as manager. I like the recruitment we've made so far, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Nowhere near automatics. Probably just miss out on the playoffs, 8th or 9th for me.
Okay. And last but certainly not least, Woody, you've had a chance to hear the views of everyone else. Which camp are you sitting in?
Taking my rose-tinted glasses off. I cannot agree at all with this whole. We've got a whole turnover of players. I'm sorry. We are. If you run down the transfer lists that have happened this year. In fact, I had a look on the old transfer market earlier. 275 players have left the clubs in League Two. 230 have arrived. We're not the only club that have had a massive turnover. In fact, I'd probably say every club has had a massive turnover. That is the nature of League Two. Nobody has the same squad twice in League Two. So I don't buy that as an argument as to the reason why we won't finish higher. I think with the current squads, top 7 possibly. We are probably one striker away, and in my opinion, a couple of tweaks away from being a top 3. And this is a controversial point because I know there's people that are kind of with this, but for me, we need confidence in the goalkeeper. We've already discussed Ward. We need the confidence there, and we won't have it if Bryn's there. We'll lose We'll lose 50% of our first 10 games, I reckon, because there won't be the confidence there. And I'm sorry, and I know this probably won't go down well. Baldry has to start. Baldry has to start if we play a back 3. We need, like McDonald's class, don't get me wrong, McDonald's a really good signing. But for me, to play the other young lads as well, I just don't think we can have a whole brand new shape of defence when we've got Baldry, who finished well, was the difference on Saturday when he came on against Cardiff. He was a major difference on Saturday. But yeah, and then we do need a striker. But that being said, Harry McCurdy didn't score many goals before he came to us. So I think we need to, if we can get a good win on Saturday against Harrogate, and I can't remember who we got the following weekend.
Salford.
I think a lot more of our season depends on how we start it. This will be one of the first seasons in a while where it will depend on how we start it. But I'm also very confident that when it gets to January, if we're not where we need to be, i.e., in my opinion, the top 7, we'll buy players. We will spend money. I'm also struggling with this experience argument as well. I mean, I'm looking down, like we've got Gladwin, Williams, McDonald, McCurdy now could be considered an experienced player.
Reed.
I generally think if you ran down Iandolo, if you ran down every League Two squad, that we're not that much different.
I totally agree, Woody. We're not a million miles away. You don't just look at age for experience. You look at this Hutton that's come in from Barrow, has played a lot of football. You know what I mean? They're not these kids that we brought in. They're not these loanees that we took a punt on that are 18, 19 that are going. We've brought people in that are at this club, like Nick alluded to earlier, that are permanent signings. And I can't see how we're any weaker from last season at all. I agree with the concept of Mark. We're saying about Payne. Yeah, he's the biggest loss for us, 100%. But there's no reason why Gladwin and Williams can't do nothing like Payne.
And even I said on Saturday that Gladwin was a different player.
Gladwin's not in the same league or even the same ballpark as Jack Payne.
But Jack Payne's not a League Two player either.
I've said a few times online and so that we're not going to find a replacement for Jack Payne. No one would in this division, because he's way beyond what this division can do and what anyone can buy. But what we can do is improve in other areas that we didn't have last season, and that's where Khan comes in. Now, Khan is a proper strong box-to-box number 8 midfielder. We didn't have that last season, and that will bring us a dimension that we didn't have, and that will cover something, because we had great little attacking players last year, but we had a midfield of midgets. We don't have that now. We have a battler.
I think as well.
Now we've got enough attacking spirit. We have enough creativity there. We just haven't got that box to box.
No, you just know that midfield free.
Yeah, I think as well you've got to look at the way that I look at this season. Our first 11 probably isn't as strong as last season, but our squad is a lot better. Our squad is a lot bigger. It's a lot more in depth. I still stand by. I had an argument with somebody on Twitter. Wakeling is the next Jerry Yates. I'm telling you that now. He will be the next Jerry Yates, which is why I would be more than comfortable to see him start in front with McCurdy. But I think, like I said, but in terms of answering the question, I mean, we got Darcy as well. He's played a bit, but top 7 as we currently stand, but we're 1 or 2 tweaks away from being a top 3, in my opinion.
Okay. It's very, very interesting stuff. And I do enjoy, because it can come across sometimes that we all get on well and just share the same footballing opinion. So it's always nice.
We all do get on well, Fifey.
Yeah, that is true. But it's nice.
I think what you're saying is we've been in danger of becoming our own echo chamber, haven't we, at times? It's good to have different opinions.
It's nice that we can all express a difference of opinion. We don't all have to agree. Craig, I know. So we're looking now at the wider league, and where we think other teams who are going to be the competition, who perhaps are not so much. Judging by what the panel have said tonight, are we putting Swindon in a playoff category or promotion category? I think, does it average out around about playoffs?
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, I would put us in the playoffs. Has everyone got that screen come up?
Yeah, we see
it come up. Right. So yeah, I'll put us in the playoffs then.
Okay.
People who are audio.
How you want to do this? Do you want to start off with the easy ones, the relegation at all?
I think we hit the clubs in the order they appear on the screen.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll start off with AFC Wimbledon then.
Does anyone have a strong belief on how they expect Wimbledon to do? Obviously, come down from League One, so would be expected to do relatively well.
My personal view, I predict them to do quite well, because there's always a relegated team that does have a good chance of bouncing straight back up again. And I think Wimbledon are probably the best equipped team out of all the teams to go down to do that. They signed Josh Davison. They signed Guthrie, isn't it, the Welsh international, though he's ageing a little bit as well. And they've got a few good players in there. I think they are quite strong and sturdy and robust. And I think they'll be all right next season. I think they'll do better than some will think. So I think they'll be in around the top 7 myself.
I had them in the playoffs as well, but I mean, we could always move them around as and when. Does anyone else have a?
Personally speaking, I think Ben's right. There is always 1 or 2 of the relegated clubs do well. I don't necessarily think that Wimbledon will be the best of the relegated clubs. I was probably going to put them in that 13 to 17 bracket, but given what you've both just said, I'd be quite happy to put them in that 8 to 12 bracket.
Yeah,
I've gone with you, Fifey. Oh, sorry, go on there.
No, you carry on.
Yeah, I've gone with Fifey. I put them to finish 17th. I think they'll struggle a bit.
Oh, Ned, what, Woody, what are you two going to say about this?
I think they've strengthened their forward line very well. I think they've brought to their strengths. They know who they are. They've got rid of a load of the deadwood. I think they've done really well. So I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but I think that top half, 12 to 8, sounds
right. Woody? Woody still there?
He's on mute. You're on mute, Woody.
Oh, I'm on mute. That's because I can't see the screen when the screen's sharing. They got Davison, so they're going to definitely finish top half. And they've also signed Magoma, isn't they, as well, from Brentford?
Yeah, on loan from Brentford, yeah.
Yeah, so I think reasonably 8th to 12th. I don't think they'll be the League One side that will bounce straight back up.
Okay. So next up on the list then, Barrow. Is anyone not saying relegation candidate?
Bottom.
No.
Bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm bottom.
Gone.
They've
Yeah.
signed one player that of note that might be all right, but they've let a lot go.
I think as well with Barrow, like teams that come up from non-league tend to do well their first couple of seasons, but they struggled a bit last season. I think because of their low budget, low fan base, they will struggle again. And yeah, I can't see them staying up.
That's asking it.
Mark?
They're going down.
Just waving goodbye.
I just waving
Yeah,
goodbye
Leeds
now.
are-
Okay. Bradford, to the contrary, is anybody not of the belief that they should be automatic?
I'm wavering a little bit on them because some of their signings are fantastic, but there's a hell of a lot of pressure on them to be top of the league at the moment.
Yeah,
Let's
agree.
just take Liam, for
Yeah.
example. Liam said, if we are not champions, this is a failure. Now, Bradford can turn quite toxic on their own very, very quickly. And a sticky start, things could get unraveled. And it could be quite a nice place. I've actually got them finishing in the playoffs myself. I think they're not as good as they think they are, and I think some of their signings are fantastic and some will not be. For example, they signed our guy and he's going to be their defensive midfielder, Ryan East, and he's going to slot right in there. Ryan East, in my opinion, is not first team ready for a regular promotion contender.
He ain't going to get in their team. He ain't going to get in their team, Ben.
But why does,
You look at all the other players they signed, that he's not going in their team.
Do we have to worry about
a specific replacement for their last one, who they shifted on, who I think is a better player? I've forgotten his name right now. And I was thinking, why have you done that? So I honestly think they'll be played. That's why you can put them up there because obviously majority rules, but I don't think they're going to be dominate as much. I've got another team up there, but that's what I think.
They got too many. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, Craig, you were going to make a point, and then we'll come back to Ned.
Yeah, I think they've got to be. It's got to be, the Mark Hughes effect. We do say it's down to the players, but
I'm not having this Mark Hughes effect as a thing either, by the way.
I think it's not entirely, but you could see the turnaround that he made towards the end of last season when he took over. He made a big difference there with players that weren't his. So I really do think they will. I think they have bought well, apart from Ryan East, but yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Ryan East isn't a bad footballer. No, he's not. But he's not he's not a promotion. Really.
He's going to be a squad filler, though, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be a squad player. I think automatic promotion, but again, we'll go with the if everyone else thinks playoffs, we'll put them in the playoffs.
Ned, what were you going to throw in?
I was going to say, they've bought too many players you expect to be in their first 11. I do not know how on earth they're going to keep every single player happy in that squad.
Am I right thinking the rules are slightly different this year? Is it still 7 subs, but you can name 5?
5 on the pitch.
You can use 5, yeah.
Use 5.
Although to be
fair,
fair,
a lot of injury time this season. There's been a lot of late goals and injury time.
I think that was something Liam actually mentioned on Friday about that there could be too many, like they've signed players who would be expecting to play in that first 11. So yeah, that could be an issue.
I think it's a massive issue, and then I think it will all start to unravel. Sort of like October, November time when 3 or 4 of the players haven't got as many minutes as they believe they should have, and then all of a sudden rifts start kicking up in the changing rooms. I think it's all gonna turn to shit in that changing room. I've got because it's already. Chewy always said about that being very cliquey and a lot of arguments and a lot of unhappy people there. So it's only going to get worse, in my opinion. But they've got like 3-4 players in each position. It's not how you make it work.
Have you got any additional comment on Bradford?
Well, I can't see them. Sorry, Nick, go on.
No, sorry.
Okay, I was going to say, I can't see them not going up as champions. I mean, you've got players like Richie Smallwood, so more than 200 games in the Championship, including 42 games for Hull last year. and he's a class-holding midfielder. You got Critchlow. We all know how quality a footballer he is.
They're loving him already.
Yeah, and Timmy Odesina as well, the young centre-back from Hartlepool that won more Man of the Match awards than any other player in the Hartlepool side last year, as well as winning their Young Player of the Year. Admittedly, he's only had 1 year in league football, but he is the right age, 22, to kick on and have a good stint at being a quality defender in a team that's going to romp the league. All joking aside, the money they must have spent to bring these players in, there has to be a team in there that's good enough to romp home. I'm not saying they're going to win it by any more than 5 or 6 points, but I think they're going to go up as champions.
The only thing I would say to that, and I completely agree with you, but the only word I would say on the fact that the money they spent, there must be a team in there, the only word I can say is Salford. How much money do teams need to throw at stuff before you realise it doesn't necessarily work just throwing money at it?
Yeah, Craig put the nail on the head. That Mark Hughes, mate. I'm sorry, Pfeiffer, you can't not say that's got a massive impact. Like, he is different gravy at this level, and the players.
On what evidence is he different gravy at this level? Is it his history of winning League Two?
But if we're saying stuff that they're going to choke or he can't deal with a squad, this guy's dealt with a lot bigger players than have walked through the door at Bradford this year. Do you know what I mean? And I'm with Mark. They're automatic promotion written all over them.
Oh, I agree. I was the one that said put them up there.
Yeah, they need to win. They need to win. They need to get promoted this year. That, like you say, the money they've probably chucked at it, 100%. They're going to be up there. Top. I'd be massively shocked if they're not top 3, and he'll see them over the line, because you just look at the players they've brought in, and it's enough to be at the top end of this league.
Okay, Nick, sorry, you haven't had your say yet.
Yeah, I've got them down as finishing 5th. I think the expectation is so great for that club that, like their guy said, they feel they've got to win the league. And the other thing, talking about Mark Hughes, I saw an interview a few months ago from a player who he managed. I can't remember who it was now, but he said Mark Hughes does not like confrontation. So if he's got players that are unhappy, who are going to be banging on his door saying I should be in the team, I think that's where his problems are going to come, like was already been alluded to. So I don't think they will win the league. I think they'll get in the playoffs, but that's as far as I can see them going.
I think it's fair that they, at least for the time being, unless we can think of better options, they can stay in the automatic promotion position for now. Next up on the list, and Woody, we'll start with you, Carlisle.
Carlisle. By the way, I have Bradford going up as champions as well, and I think they're going to get 100 points this season. The Carlisle's an interesting one. Yeah, they're getting 100 points. I don't care what you say. This is about opinions, and mine's the only one that matters at the moment. So Carlisle, they'll be. They've made some interesting signings. I'm surprised they let Abrahams go. He went to Eastleigh, didn't he, or something like that. But I think there'll be a bang average mid-table side this year. I'll probably go 13 to 17. I don't think they'll be poor enough to finish in that kind of relegation battle. So I'll probably say they'll be on the bottom right at 13 to 17, in my opinion.
Okay. Nick?
I've got them struggling. I've got them finishing 22nd. So I think they're just going to have a struggle of a season. They weren't great last season, and I can't see them doing any better this coming season. So I've got them down in the bottom half.
Okay, Warren?
Yeah, I'm with Nick. I think they will struggle. They didn't do very well last season. I can't see anything that they've improved or done anything to improve it massively. Yeah, I think they'll struggle, and they'll be down that bottom end, 18 to 22.
So when I was drafting my list up, I had them around about 14th originally. But then as I was looking at it and revising my list, I just thought there's too many mid-table sides that I think will be able to find that element of consistency better than them. So yeah, I've put them in the 18 to 22 bracket as well. Craig?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a good season for Cumbria. I've got them down as getting relegated with Barrow.
Okay. Mark?
I had him in the 18 to 22 bracket. Again, I think they'll just be happy to stay in the league.
Ned, are you following suit as well?
Yeah, I mean, I had them down default at 16th, but more than happy to go for 18 to 22 because they're shit.
And Ben?
I've got them slightly better at 15th or so because Paul Simpson's a club legend and he did pick them up from relegation certainties. So I think there is a slight upward curve, but they've got no money and their ownership is poor. So I think he would just about slightly better than last year, but only slightly.
Club legends don't always say
they don't, but he did a great job. They were going down last year. They were going, and when we spanked them, I thought they're fucked. I thought they were going down. And he did pick them up. So maybe he has an effect there.
I think the consensus then, Craig, is 18 to 22 with a slight possibility of the next one up.
Okie dokie.
Mark is fully aware. I think it's a shit club with shit players, with a shit ground and a shit city.
I've echoed those words verbatim, Ned. It has to be said.
Scotland.
Let's mix the order up this time. Ned, you're not short of an opinion. How about our friends over at Colchester?
Colchester. I didn't do Colchester. Where did I put them in my predictions? I put them 15th. Okay. I don't think they have done too badly with their with their additions. But yeah, the only thing that you will say is that their form picked up a lot when they changed over managers. So
yeah, exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, I imagine that will continue on into this season. So I don't think they'll be as bad as as they were at the start of last season. So I reckon 15th.
Okay, Nick.
I've got them halfway, 12th. I think they'll just be the as they normally are, average side. They'll beat a few good teams, and they'll lose against some of the crap teams. So I've got them halfway at 12th.
Okay, Mark.
Comfortably mid-table, but in the bottom half of the table. It's the 13th to 17th for me. I'll probably, actually, to be fair, in my list, I've got 15th as well. So there's enough about them, like Nick's just said, that they'll surprise a few sides, but they'll fall short more often than be victorious.
Okay, Woody.
I didn't write everybody down in a list, so I'm kind of playing off the whim.
Play off whatever whim you like.
But I would probably say in the 13 to 17 bracket as well.
Okay. Wazza?
Yeah, I agree with what the gents are saying. I think they'll be down there. They lost their keeper though this week, which that Shamal George has gone. So he was a massive player for them last season. So that could. They don't get that replaced. You don't know where they could be, but I think they'll have enough, like they do, just to to be out of trouble. But I can't see them pushing into the top half. So bottom half for me.
Great.
I had them in the bottom half, 18 to 22, but at the top part of that, I don't think they'd be in a relegation battle, but they'd be. Bottom half between 13 and 17 is probably just as reasonable. I only had them there just purely on how good the other teams seem to be around them. They did, was it Ned saying they turned things around last season with their new manager, but I just think it's such a strong league that they may struggle, but I think I'll go with the flow.
Ben?
I had them actually down to go down this year as a surprise relegation. Shamal George was a huge player for them last year. Absolutely huge. He's kept them in so many He won them so many points, and they were just sacked one. I don't think they signed anyone. I think they signed one player.
3 players, I was saying.
3 players. That's not a lot, really. I think that's a team that's pretty stagnant, especially at this level where there's usually quite a big turnover of players. And I don't think they like their owner. I think there's going to be a little bit of unrest, and I think they might struggle, and I think they might get the ill-fated 23rd position, but just above Barrow, my opinion. I'm willing to go with the common census that it's going to be bottom half.
Well, I think the consensus there, Craig, is if we put them in the bottom half for now, but they may drop into the same bracket as Carlisle as we go along. Okay. Maybe the situation. Next, a team very much on the up, Crawley. And
just quickly say, with Colchester, they have got Sam Hornby in as a replacement for Shamal George. So he's he played 8 games for them last year, so he's familiar with the team. So it's not too much of a transition.
Let's talk Crawley, and I would like to start this time, if I can, please, with Mark.
Okay, well, this is probably going to be the bone of contention of the teams that are here for various reasons. But I have Crawley doing well enough to get themselves promoted. I think I've got them in the automatic promotion positions. Yeah, I've put them in third. I think they signed League Two's top goal scorer from last season in Dom Telford. Whether he can replicate that again this year, I don't know. But if anyone can, Dom can. And then defensively, they've signed obviously Conroy, and we all know that Conroy on his day is a fantastic defender. And maybe with a fresh start, it will suit him, and he can get back to the very early form that he provided us with. And also another player by the name of Kwesi Appiah. So he really is a physical unit and epitomises exactly what a League Two midfielder should be. I mean, he's 32, but his career's only really taken off in the last 5 years or so. But based on how it's been on the upward trajectory, and if that form carries through, they've got a good spine to their side. I just think, it is a bit of a circus in terms of how they're coming across in the media and how they're going to operate, and they're going to get fans to, say which parts of which areas of the team they're going to strengthen. Which seems a little bit farcical, but hey, if it's getting them the engagement and they're making a load of money from selling NFTs, 4 million quid, if they're going to reinvest that in the team, then there's no reason to think that Crawley won't be up there and do really well. Okay,
let's ask Ben.
I don't like Crawley very much.
Do you think?
No, I don't like Crawley very much, and I think they'll do better than they did last season. But I think their owners are quite arrogant, and I think their owners are quite naive. I think saying stupid things like, we got 2 seasons or, to get promoted and that's the deadline to do it. I think they're just powering a load of money into the first team and not doing anything for the infrastructure of the club and anything for the foundations or anything to build the fans up, anything with the community. They've just always going to wallop loads of money Salford into the first team, and that's going to get us promoted because we're going to piss this Tin Pot League because it's going to be easy because we've got all this money. It doesn't work like that. I think they are quite arrogant by throwing their weight around, and I think they're not going to be very liked very much. And I would love to see them fall flat on their arse. I think they will finish, I think they'll finish top half of mid-table this season because they'll get some good players in. But the infrastructure, it's built on sand. So I think the club's in any danger. I mean, they're just walling it into the first team and just not bothering with anything else, doing it properly. They're not building up properly. They're just going to go, here's first team, 2 years, get yourself promoted. Aren't we amazing?
It's a little bit early for Ben to be going full panto villain, isn't it?
I just don't like Crawley very much.
Let's ask Warren. Are you strictly backing Ben on this one?
I agree more with Ben than I can't see him being massively high up there. I never rated Conroy. I wasn't a hater, but I never rated him. I don't think he's going to solve a massive load of defensive issues at a club. I just see them sitting in top half. I think they'll be there. I think Mark made a great point. They have signed the League Two, got top goal scorer in that Salford. So I don't think goals are going to be a problem. But I just can't. They'll sit top half for me.
Okay. Let's ask Woody.
I'm hoping that Ben is going to be bringing his stab vest with him when Crawley comes to town, because obviously Ben's never been to Crawley. Probably wouldn't say that about many people in Crawley.
Not the people. The people are lovely. It's the club. I'm sure that probably Ruben's a lovely kid, and I'm sure he's going to stick it to me again. But yeah, no, the people of Crawley are lovely. I just don't like the ownership.
Shut up, Ben. But I do agree with Ben. Crawley are just a new Salford. I don't think they don't have the attraction, even if they've got the money. So I would say in the 8 to 12 bracket, they'll do okay because they've signed some half decent players. But yeah, for me, 8 to 12 bracket.
Craig?
No, I think they're going to be automatic. They're not just plowing money into it. You look at who they've appointed as manager and assistant manager. It was Arsenal's under 23 management team from last season. They've got ex-Arsenal academy players in their team. They've made a good sort of balanced recruitment policy in getting young potential players and experienced players coming in. And yeah, Ben, you can interrupt me in a minute, mate. And the style of football they're going to play, obviously with Conroy at the back, they're going to be playing out from the back. They've got Arsenal management. They're going to be playing a certain style of football. And they, in January, mark my words, with the money that they've got, they're going to be competing for the same players as us. And they will throw the money at it, they will. But they're not just throwing money at anything. It is deliberately targeted. I don't know who their director of football is, but I think that their recruitment has been more cute than what people think. But yeah, I think they'll be up there. Dominic Telford, as Mark said, that's an amazing signing in itself. And I don't want them to be up there, but I think they will. Automatic.
Go on, Ben. Before I hand over to Ned, what did you want to say?
I was just going to say, it's just when they've got lots and lots of good youth players in Arsenal Academy, and that's why thinking, well, what's any different that we've done apart from we bought players probably a little bit more experienced than they have in that sense.
Really?
Because they just said they bought in a lot of good youthful players. So have we.
Yeah, but ours has been, as Mark was saying earlier, ours has been more heavily on the youth and on players that are inexperienced. We may have brought some players in that have got experience, but most of that's been in non-league.
I wouldn't say Darcy's played quite a bit in League One. Shade's played quite a bit. You know that we've got. I think we've probably got equal amount of experience. That is my opinion. We'll wait and see. Obviously,
I think you're just being biased because you don't like the club, Ben.
I don't like Crawley. Obviously, I am biased. But
we still need to let Ned have his say. But Woody wanted to jump in on a point as well.
I was just wondering, like, we're talking about the players they brought in. Yeah, they brought in Telford. I mean, it could be an unknown quantity for all we know. But the players they got in were Edgware Town, Welling, Millwall under 23s, MK Dons, Newport County, which was Telford, Tottenham under 21s, Esbjerg FB, us, Crewe Alexandra, Liverpool under 23s, and Dartford. So I don't see that the quality of players that they've got in are actually that much different to many other teams in this league.
Go on, Ned.
Oh, you know, everyone's entitled to their own opinion and everything, but honestly, I can't see them finishing any higher than 10th. This year, I look at it a very different light. I think, you know, Dom Telford, one season wonder. He's never done anything before. There's nothing to say he'll do anything this season.
Is this where we just say the word McCurdy again?
No. I mean, I look at their signings and I don't see where a promotion-winning team comes from, because all the players that they had before were absolutely shite. So, chucking a Telford in doesn't win them the league. Do you know what I mean?
Poor old Ruben.
I mean, I said it before when we was going to play Crawley, and even when we played Crawley, they were absolute dog shit. We just played really badly that day. But honestly, I do not see where unless they buy another 15 players. I don't see where that promotion's coming from.
Okay, well, we've got a mix of the automatic and the top half. I was quite content to put them playoffs myself. So, Craig, I think we stick them in the playoff positions for now, because that kind of balances everyone's opinion, and then we can move them down if we find a few more. Conscious of time, let's speed it up a little bit. So the next 3 clubs are the other relegated teams, if I've got this correct. So we've got Crewe, we've got Doncaster, and we've got Gillingham. Now, I'll start with Warren on this one. Of the three, and we've already got Wimbledon there in top half, which of the 4 relegated clubs are you expecting to do the best?
Doncaster, easy.
Okay. Nick?
Yeah, Doncaster, I'll go with that. I've got them just outside the playoffs.
Woody?
Controversially, I think Crewe are going to get top 3.
Okay. Craig?
Wimbledon.
Mark?
Yeah, Wimbledon.
Ned?
Doncaster, just by finishing above Wimbledon.
Okay. And Ben?
Wimbledon.
Okay, so judging by that, what we're saying is Doncaster, as a minimum, have to be top half, if not playoffs. We're saying Crewe are somewhere between 8th and 17th, and Gillingham are likely 13th to 17th, given that nobody mentioned them at all.
I personally think
I wonder why.
I think both of them will be 13th to 17th, but again, go with the flow.
Okay, let's stick Crewe and Gillingham both in the next to Colchester for the time being.
Yeah.
And let's talk Grimsby, another promoted side. And I'll go first on this one. I'm a big believer in momentum, and I actually think they're going to do a lot better than people think.
Yeah.
And I want to say playoffs, but if you guys want to go top half, I'd go with that as well. But I'm going to throw my hat in and say playoffs. Let's ask Ben.
I'm going to go just below 12th, 13th to 17th. I do believe they're a very well run club, but I don't think they've got quite the player, the ability in the squad to push top half to playoff. So I think they'll be a comfortable mid-table team, probably slightly lower half.
Okay, Woody?
I agree with Ben. I think they'll be 13th to 17th. They'll do well, but 13th to 17th.
Craig?
I've got them 18 to 22. I think they might be a little bit, might struggle a little.
I'm being completely outnumbered here. Nick?
I'm with you, Fifey. I've got them finishing 7th. I think there's always a surprise team that comes through that nobody expects. Grimsby's not an easy place to go and get a result. No. I've got them 7th, and I'll go further to say they'll win the playoffs.
Wow. Ooh. Warren?
Yeah, I'm with you, Fifey and Nick. I think they've signed some good players. I think Otis Khan's a good player at this level. And I agree with you. And I think a lot of people wrote off some of the teams that got relegated that got promoted from the conference last year.
Yeah.
And and Barrow did themselves justice. Harrogate were flying at the time as well. So they had a lot of momentum on their side. I don't think they'll make the playoffs personally, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them in that top level of the top half.
Okay. Ned?
I put Grimsby down.
Sorry, mate. I should have been
worst timing. So yeah, 9th. I put Grimsby down. I think they'll start off well and then fade. I think they'll finish 9th. I put Gillingham 17th, Doncaster 7th, and Crewe 22nd.
Wow. Mark?
Yeah, I'm kind of slap bang in the middle of all of this because yes, they've managed to keep the majority of the squad that they got promoted with together. I don't think they've added enough in depth, and I think injuries will play a part unless they get incredibly lucky, and that will give them a surprise season. On that basis alone, I'm going to put them as having a successful consolidation season and comfortably 12th.
So, Craig, I think we stick them up there with Wimbledon and Doncaster for the time being as a top half club. And that brings us to Harrogate. Obviously, opponents on opening day. Craig's already moving them in the list. He's pretty confident with how this is going to go. Let's ask Ben first on this one.
I think they'll go down. I think they overachieved at the start of the season, which saved them from getting in trouble towards the end because they've just dropped like a stone, and they've not done anything pre-season to make me think that they're going to improve. So I think they'll be in and around relegation.
Ned?
I think I'm in two minds here because if they lost their striker, whatever it's, I'm just trying to think what his name
Armstrong.
is. Armstrong. If they lost Armstrong, I would have said definitely relegated. But because they've still got him, it leads me to think it possibly might be 18 to 22. But I did mark him down on my list as 23rd.
Okay, Mark.
Yeah, 18th to 22nd. I think the way they finished the season last year, I think, just agreeing with what Ben said, they were dropping like a stone, and I don't really see them going down, but they're going to be in with a bit of a dogfight, I think, towards the end of the season.
Craig.
Yeah, for me, I've got them being relegated. It was close between them and Carlisle for me for that second relegation spot.
Warren.
They've got some character about them. They flew the start of the season, and then I know we say they dropped away, but everyone was saying they dropped away. But they showed some character towards the end of that season. I can't have them going down, but they will be towards that bottom half. Yeah, I think they'll be 18 to 22, and I can't see them being relegated.
Nick.
Yeah, it's the same bottom half. I've got them just above Carlisle at 21st. So I think they'll just about survive.
Woody?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I think they'll be 18th, 19th, around there.
Okay. I was looking at the remaining list to see if there was anyone I thought was more likely to get relegated. And potentially there is. So I'm quite happy to stick them in the 18 to 22 list, Craig.
Okay.
Next up, Hartlepool. Grant made a successful Fools Rush In debut last week. Did he do enough to convince anybody? Let's start with Woody.
I think Hartlepool will be playoffs.
Ooh, okay.
I think they've finally taken proper advantage of where they are in the country. And you look at some of the signings they've signed from the Scottish Prem, etc. Players that are going to be able to battle really well in League Two. And I think we were talking earlier about players, teams that might be that coming up and being a surprise package. I think it will be Hartlepool. I think Hartlepool will be playoffs.
Ben?
They sold a lot of players, didn't they? Their best player, Molyneux, left. They've signed. Who was that terrible defender that played for us as well? Yeah, I don't know. I think they'll leak goals, and I think they leaked some quality. I've got them between 18th and 22nd, but that's what I think.
Well, two vastly differences of opinion there, Craig.
Yeah, I've got them bottom half, 13th to 17th place.
Okay, Warren.
Bottom half, 13th to 17th. I don't think they've got enough quality, but I can't see them being anywhere close to going down. So yeah, bottom half, 13th to 17th.
Mark?
Yeah, echo those points completely. 13th to 17th for me as well.
Ned?
Well, I wrote down two things. I put Molyneux is a massive loss, and Odesina, obviously. And bringing in many AC on loan just sets the alarm bells. So yeah, I've put down that they'll finish 20th. So bottom half, 18 to 22.
Nick?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as Ned, 20th in that bottom half. I can't see them doing anything. I don't think they'll go down, but I can't see them getting any higher than that.
Okay, I think then I'm with Woody. I don't think they'll quite get like playoffs, but I was going to suggest they go that 8 to 12 bracket. But judging by what the majority have gone with, I think for now, if we stick them with that 13 to 17 group, and very shortly, at least one of those will be moving down into the next bracket. We have Latent Orient next on the list. And again, I'm fairly confident with what I'm going to say here, that I'll go first and say that they will join Swindon and Crawley in the playoffs, if not automatics. So either one of those two is what I'm expecting. Do you agree, Ned?
I definitely agree. They've made the best signing of the transfer window for a League Two club, in my opinion. Moncur, and they've got some.
Remind
really,
me
really
to put
good
you in
young
touch
players.
with Liam.
What's that?
Remind me to put you in touch with Liam because he's already had this argument twice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, he's awesome. I'd love him at Swindon, obviously for the legacy point of view as well. But no, I put them down as 5th. I definitely think they'll make the playoffs.
Okay, Nick.
Yeah, definitely playoffs. I'd put them down as 6th. So I think Wellens will do a good job there. He's, he'll get them into those playoffs without doubt.
Okay, Craig.
I did have them as playoffs, but I think because of the way the other teams have recruited around them, I think top half.
Oh, okay. Woody?
Agree with Craig. I mean, obviously, I didn't have a list down, so I'm kind of changing my mind continuously. But I would
That's
probably
fine.
say 8 to 12. To
Okay,
be honest,
Mark?
I think they'll narrowly miss out.
Yeah, I've got them. I agree with you, Fife. I've got them down as finishing 4th. The 3 big factors for me, one was Richie Wellens, just because Wellens' ball, if he gets them playing that way and how they played against us in that 2-1 defeat, will just, that alone, playing like that will get them up there. George Moncur, without a shadow of a doubt, is a fantastic signing. No more needs to be said there. And then also Theo Archibald, they managed to get him back in, but permanently. So that I know they're struggling to get signings over the line, and Wellens has already made a bit of noise about, not, having enough momentum in the transfer market at the moment. But what they have and what they've added has been quality. So I just feel they're well equipped to be in the top 7.
Warren?
8 to 12. I just think they'll just miss out. What Mark's just alluded to it. I think if Wellens is already shouting and screaming a bit about the signing side of it, I don't know if that's a good sign. I think they do struggle being in London. You're always struggling. Are you that team that gets followed? You know what I mean? Have they got a massive crowd base in January? Are they going to be able to go, oh, let's go and get these players? I do. The Wellens thing for me brings in the other argument. I think he is a top manager at this level. I just don't think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll be in that top half, 8 to 12 bracket.
Okay, Ben?
Personally, I think Wellens is the best manager in the league, ahead of Hughes, because of his experience of getting promoted out of this league. I think George Moncur was the player that I wanted to replace Payne with. I think there will be playoffs. If they sign more players, good players, they could push top 3 for playoffs for me.
Okay. So for the time being, then let's put them in the playoff list, Craig, and we'll review that as it gets a little bit more full. And I think that they will be very quickly joined in the playoffs by the next team, which is Mansfield, unless a few of you think that they'll go one better than next year. But I'm going to put them in amongst the playoff picture as well. Let's go, Warren.
Yeah, I liked Mansfield last year. I think me and Woody always used to joke about it, and they finally got where they needed to be. Without their slow start at the start of the season, they would have been promoted for me. I don't think Clough will let that happen 2 years in a row. I think they've recruited well. One of the players that stood out for me at this level is that midfielder from MK Dons. They got that Hiram Boateng. I think he's a top signing. Very good at this level, I believe. I'd be very surprised. I think there'll be automatic promotion for me.
Okay, Nick?
Yeah, I'll go along with that. I've got them finishing 2nd. I think they'll push on from last season. Like we said, Cloughie will have them playing from the start. So they need to get a good start, but automatics for me.
Woody?
For me, I would have had them down as us or them for automatic promotion. So given that we've put us in the playoffs, I'd say they're automatic promotion.
Okay. Ben?
I had them as champions. I think this is their time. They've been in and around it for a long time now, and I think Clough will go one better. They've impressed this summer, and I think they'll be champions.
Ned?
I put them down as 8th. I can't give you a solid reason for it. I just can't see it. Mansfield are just a team that's going to languish in League 2 forever. I guess the only justification is I can see there's at least 7 teams better than them. That's about the only justification.
Okay. No, mate, that's all I need to hear. Mark?
I've got them down as finishing 5th. I think Waz's point on Boateng is absolutely spot on. He's a quality signing for them. In addition to that, one of Cloughie's favourite strikers is Lucas Akins, and I think he'll end up as the division's top goal scorer this year. In terms of, do they have enough about them to go up? Don't know, but they do have a very successful and progressive board who are determined to make a success. And they've got all the ingredients. I just think because of the pull and what other clubs have done, they're going to fall a little bit short and drop into the playoffs. But I think they'll be the ones that go up via the playoffs.
Okay, Craig?
Yeah, I'm pretty much with Mark there. I think they'll go up via the playoffs.
Okay. My only thing with this is now I'm looking at the teams remaining and not really seeing anyone more likely to challenge than Mansfield, which makes the next few calls very interesting. If I can pull rank momentarily, Craig, and ask you to put Mansfield in the automatic positions just for the time being, we may well swap them with Swindon at the end, just so that we're winning.
Rose tinted glasses on.
Newport. What are we thinking about Newport? I've struggled. I don't think they're going to be anywhere near what they have been personally, but I have been umming and ahhing about this. Ben, let me come to you first.
I don't think they'll be quite strong this year. I think they've got a good manager. I think they're good nucleus of the side. Omar Bogle is not going to score as many goals. He's not going to finish to fill in Dom Telford's shoes. He's got 2 feet are far too big. But yeah, no, I've got them to finish 8th to 12th. Just not quite as so. They'll miss Azir as well. He was their best player, best midfielder. They've lost their best 2 players. I don't think they've replaced them.
Okay, Warren?
I like Ben. I like the manager, but I think they miss Flynn, and I know the time had to come to an end, but I think Flynn was that driving force, got everyone on side. And what we were speaking about earlier with some of us disputing whether Swindon are a year early, I think this year might be their consolidation or just sit in mid-table year. And I think next year with the gaffer in charge, this Rowbury, who I think is a very good young manager. I think, give him another year at this level. And then I think next year could be the season where they push on towards the playoffs. But I had them in the sort of 13 to 17 bracket this season.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, I agree with the position. I think 13th to 17th. I mean, they're notoriously low on budget and they do struggle to attract decent quality players. And I don't think they've replaced what they've lost. I think for those points alone and the fact that it is going to take a season or so for them to find their feet again. I think I'm in agreement with you where you were saying and understanding why you think maybe they would finish high, just because historically over the last few seasons they've always been there or thereabouts. I think this season I just don't see it. So 13th to 17th for me.
Woody?
Yeah, I think 13th to 17th. They've done some good business in terms of Zanzala. Not a bad player for them to sign. Not the best, but he's not a bad player. I all the way through this, when I was looking at the remainder of the teams, I actually thought they might have a little bit of a relegation scrap on their hands. But I think I agree with most of what everybody said. I'd say the 13th to 17th bracket.
Okay, Ned, Nick, Craig, I'm coming to you guys next. And what I want you to consider, please, is it looks as though Newport are going 13 to 17. So which of the 4 teams currently sat there are moving down because of that? Ned, I'll come to you.
You can have 5. You can have 5.
Come on, 5
really shit maths, isn't it?
I knew you were going to say that as well.
So Newport, they've lost so many goals. I thought they would have at least hung on to Patrick Amond for another season.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Gone to Woking, hasn't he?
I know, it's weird. Weird.
But yeah, to for the 2 replacement strikers to be Omar Bogle and Zanzala, I mean, what, they're going to score about 3 goals between them all season. And also just to buy, to physically buy someone called Drysdale, As a Swindon fan, doesn't bode well for any team, does it? So, yeah, honestly, I put them down as 19th. I mean, I think they're going to really struggle this year. I think they're awful this year. I not see them doing well, but happy to go with 13 to 17.
Well, to be fair,
and I'll be
18 to
happy to stick
22
with
might not be a bad shout, depending on what Nick and Craig say. Nick?
Yeah, I'll go along with that. I've got them down as finishing 19th.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Ned and Nick. I think the last couple of seasons they've overachieved, and if you look at them historically since they came up, they always struggled down that bottom end. And I think it catches up with them, as I think Mark was saying. They struggle to get the fans in. They don't pay much out on their wage budget, and I think that's just purely down to that. That's going to catch up with them, and they'll be down the bottom half, unfortunately. And you always get a couple of clubs who are in the top half of the season before end up struggling the following season. It's just the way it goes.
Okay, let's put them in the 18 to 22 bracket for the time being then, and we'll decide if they need to be swapped or not. Quite potentially controversially, I'm going to say Northampton and put them straight into that 13 to 17 bracket. I don't think they're going to be challenging the way they did last year, personally.
I'll be even more controversial, Fifey. I think they'll be in the 18 to 22.
Wow.
I think they're going to have one hell of a hangover. And again, like I said with Newport, you always get a team that just seems to drop down after. I think a lot more teams know what they're about. Basically, just a physical team that's shithouse. And I reckon they'll be down there. And there's so many better teams than them in this league. I think they'll be down that bottom half, 18 to 22.
Is anyone else agreeing with me and Craig that it's certainly bottom half, or is everyone else expecting them to sort of be up there somewhere?
I had 8 to 12, but I'll go with common ruling. I think Danny Hilton's probably going to score a few goals to keep him out of trouble.
Danny Hilton's way past it.
I know he's way, and he's going to be their talisman. But he was still playing in the playoffs. I think the Championship playoff. So I think I was going to say 8 to 12. But if you want to stick him lower, I've got no arguments.
Yeah, I'm along with Ben on that. I've gone 8 to 12. I think they lost their centre half, went to Stockport.
Yeah.
I think he scored 12 goals last season. I think that's going to be a big miss for them. So, yeah, I've gone 8 to 12.
Yeah, it's a good shout. And they replaced him with Odomeo, who's not going to score any goals for him.
No.
He can't head the ball. So,
Woody, what are you saying?
Yeah, but Rich has just said, he's messaged me to say because they've signed Odomeo, they're going to keep a load of clean sheets. So I thought it was quite ironic to come from Rich, to be fair. Northampton, I think 13th to 17th. I think they'll be a mid-table side next year.
Okay. It's certainly mixed, that's for sure. Mark, where are you sitting?
Again, I did a lot about Northampton, and I think the overriding fact for me is to cruelly be denied automatic promotion and then fail in the playoffs as they did. I think he's going to have a massive hangover, more so than us. I've got them down as finishing 11th. I still think they're a decent and solid League Two side and will still be competitive. I just don't think they've got enough to get into the top 7.
Well, these predictions are all over the shop. So it all comes down, I believe, to Ned and Warren.
From Warren.
I'm with Mark. I'm looking at the list of the teams that are below them, and I can't see them finishing below those teams. We can call Danny Hilton old, but he still scores goals, and and I think they've brought in some decent players. I think a lot of us would have been quite happy if Odomeo stayed. I don't think we'd be all kicking off. If he was still at the club, I think they made a good signing from us there.
Especially Rich.
Especially Rich. But yeah, I agree with the hangover to point to a degree, but not to the point that they're going to be down there and floundering. I think they're still a solid enough side at this level, and I would stick them in the 8 to 12 category, no problem.
Ned?
I thought I was going to be controversial with my 11th prediction. I can't see Hilton getting a huge amount of goals. And then, the point's been made already. I think they could be damaged goods mentally as well. So, I went 11th. Oh, well, and also the style of football they play, they're not going to be the best at it next season as well. And I think that's going to be a bit soul destroying for them.
Okay. So I think it kind of averages out for the time being that they go in the 8 to 12 bracket, Craig.
Okay, no.
Again, it may be up for review when the last couple of teams come in. Rochdale's next up, and would it be? I'm not sure what you guys think. Would it be controversial for me to put them in the relegation zone?
I think they're going down.
You think they're going down as well?
I think they're going down.
Okay.
I'd actually comfortably say they'll be last place.
Oh wow. Okay.
Ooh,
Ned?
Wow. I got them down as 13th.
Wow.
Because I thought, they haven't had anyone decent up front for several years. Matt Dome was their best striker, and you think, bloody hell, that's absolutely awful. So granted they got in Devante Rodney, but they've also got Ian Henderson from Salford. So I thought there was a good chance that they were going to score a few more goals this year. So I thought maybe push them up to mid-table. I was going to say bottom half, 13th to 17th, but
is Henderson going to make it through the season? He's like 37, isn't he?
Yeah, but he knows where the goal is. I just think with the way that they play, I just thought they'll score a few more goals this year. There's no real sort of sexy signings, but I just thought they've from their budget, I thought they'd done all right with removing again some of the dead wood, and granted, would have liked to have kept O'Connell, but I think Ebanks, Lendl, and O'Donnell from Bradford as well. I think he's a solid keeper. But yeah, I don't know. I'm happy to go with what everyone thinks, but I thought Rochdale would do better than they did last year, which bolstered them up a couple of places to 13th. But
it all seemed really easy when the lists and tiers were empty, didn't it? But as we come to the last few clubs, it suddenly seems that everyone's taking it a bit more seriously. So we've had a couple saying going down, Nick, and we've had Ned saying that he thinks that they'll be okay. What are you saying?
I'm similar to Ned. I've got them 15th. I think they'll just consolidate, be a bog average side, like some of the others around that bottom half. I think they'll surprise a few what you would term decent teams, and again they'll probably lose to some of the crap teams. So I think bottom half it's 13 to 17.
Ben?
There's been a lot of change there. I think they've lost a lot of good players. But I think they've got goals to keep them up. I think Henderson will do it. I don't think he will score enough. St. Clair's not been mentioned. They've just signed recently from Mansfield. He's a good player. So I think they've got enough goals in them to keep them out of trouble. But 18th, 22nd.
Mark?
Yeah, well, it is the Rochdale division after all, and I can't see them dropping out into non-league football. Part of that's the romantic in me because of all the issues they've got going on behind the scenes, and I'd love to see them not suffer the fate of other clubs that have gone a similar way. So again, they're used to this level of football. They know what they're up against. I'm going to put them in the 18th position.
Warren?
Yeah, relegation battle for me. I think they might just have enough to get out of it. But I sway towards the 18 to 22, but I think they're in for a tough season.
Well, there's been a mixed bag, Craig. We'll leave it down to you. They're either going in the 18 to 22 or the relegation tier.
Well, I mean, I had them in the 18 to 22 purely because I think Carlisle and Harrogate are worse than them. But I'll go with the flow. I didn't catch the other
that's
ones,
fine. Put them in 18 to 22 for now, then.
Okay, cool.
And one of those three sides will almost certainly drop down between now and the final six clubs. Salford. What are we all? I'm gonna plump and say 8 to 12. I don't think they'll hit the playoffs. I don't know if you all agree, but my gut feel for them would be 8 to 12.
I like.
Sorry, Ben.
You go. No, I like their manager now. I think they've made a better choice. and I don't think they've gone a slightly better way of doing things. They might sneak playoffs. I'm happy to either get 7th or 8th to 12th. I think they're a little bit better run this time.
The only thing I'm looking at, and I completely understand where you're coming from there, Ben. I'm just looking at Doncaster and Grimsby in the next one down, thinking, do I see Salford finishing above both of those? But let's see what everyone else says. Craig, you were going to say something next.
Yeah, I think Salford have gone under the radar this season. I think it was Grant alluded to it in the podcast on Friday. And now we know that, just because you throw money at it doesn't automatically get you up. But I think in the long term, it does. It worked with Forest Green eventually. And I think this season will be Salford's season. As Ben said, they've taken a slightly different approach to their recruitment. And I just think purely on the fact that if you just keep throwing money at it, eventually it will work out. I've got Salford in the automatics.
Okay.
I don't want them to be. I'd rather they didn't, but I can see them doing it this season.
Let's move over to Warren next.
I think they've massively panicked this year. I think they had a route that they were going to go down all the time, wasn't it? With a tried and tested, a manager, chuck a load of money at it. They've now decided that they're going to bring a young, youthful manager that's worked with a lot of younger players and maybe go down a route like that to try and get some success. I think they're a club that doesn't really know where they are. I think they were thinking, gosh, get up into League One. We've got this money. We can do it. And it shows sometimes that you can't buy your way out of this league. I think they'll have a chance of reaching the playoff, but I don't think they will make it.
Okay, Nick?
Yeah, I think they're going to actually struggle. Like everybody said, they seem to be doing a big rebuild. I've probably put them down too low. I'll put them down in 14th, but I'd go with 8 to 12.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, I have them down as finishing in 13th because they won't finish the season with a manager they're starting the season, and there'll be a whole change of ethos. Certainly around the Christmas time again. I mean, I respect the fact that they're talking about going down the younger management route, but they did that with Wellens and then kicked him out and didn't give him the time and the backing to do it. Unfortunately, Gary Neville talks a good game. But he doesn't follow that up with backing his managers the way they should be. So for me, 13th place.
Okay, and finally, Ned?
Right. I've put Salford down as 12th. I think there's a few players that they probably should have kept hold of that got released. I don't know. There's just they seem to be fancied every year because they've got money, and I can just see this as a standard follow-on from previous years where they just don't challenge. So I just think mid-table mediocrity, somewhere 8 to 12 or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, let's stick them in the 8 to 12 category, Craig.
Yeah.
Which fills that bracket for the time being. And
Are you sure, Pipey?
It does, yeah. I've done my maths. And listen, there's 5 teams left, so let's give them the respect they deserve and obviously speak about them. But let's try and rattle these through because it's going to involve some moving around as well, I'm sure. I'm going to say Stevenage. A couple of you have mentioned surprise teams, and I think Stevenage might be it. And I'm going to say playoffs. I can see Craig and Woody both nodding. Would you agree with that assessment?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think Steve Evans, whether you love him or hate him, and I'm sure most of us hate him, including myself, but yeah, I add them as playoffs and winning it. There's always one team that shithouses their way out of this league. It was Port Vale last season. Did we honestly think Port Vale were better than us? No. But I reckon Steve Evans will do it with Stevenage.
Okay, and Woody, you were going to agree as well, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I've had them down from the start in terms of since we started this. I think they're going to be the surprise playoff package. I don't think they'll win it, but I think they will be in it.
Okay, let's go to Mark and Ned next. What are you guys saying?
Again, I had Stevenage down as 17th, I just, I didn't think they were going to have that good a season, and maybe there's a Steve Evans factor in there. Don't like the slug. Maybe I'm letting the emotions ride with it, but yeah, Stevenage for me, no.
A Stevenage or Crawley to Ben, are there?
I think.
Steve.
Sorry, is it me? Sorry.
No, it's not. It's me.
Oh,
what a surprise!
No, I thought you said Ben. So I'll keep quiet. Go on, Ed. Crack on.
Thank you. So, I mean, they signed up half the players on my wish list and very early doors. So obviously, I like them. I hate Stevenage. I hate everything about them. But you got to admire the fact that they did all their business so early. They got a manager who's a complete asshole, but he's a winner. So I put them down as 8th. I think they'll squeeze into the top half, maybe just miss out on the playoffs, but could easily make the playoffs. I think they're going to shit house a playoff position.
Ben, let's let you have your say now then.
I think they'll start really strongly, and I think they'll fade off towards the second half of the season. I've got 13th to 17th. I think Steve Evans will be a horrible team to play against, especially away from home. But I think they'll be mid-table. Better than last season, but not quite.
Okay, Warren?
Yeah, massive overhaul of players this year. I know Woody was saying about it earlier, but these are one of the teams that they released an awful lot of players and have had to bring it all together. I know we all hate him, but like we've all alluded to, Steve Evans is a good manager. He fires up the players, he gets them playing. I think they could be a season just too soon for him, really. I think they'll just be sat here in this league, and next season will be the one for them. But I couldn't tell you where they could be a surprise package, but they won't be nowhere near the bottom. But I just can't fancy them being near the top. So I know we're going to be jiggling about, but probably in that 13 to 17 category.
Yeah.
Okay, Nick?
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think they're a team that a lot of people expect to do well, but I don't think they will. I think they'll be in that 13 to 17 level. Can't see them doing any better than that.
Okay, well, interestingly here, we had a few say playoffs and a few say 13 to 17, which would suggest that they really should go 8 to 12. But is there anyone in that 8 to 12 category that we'd be happy to move down to replace them with?
Wimbledon or Grimsby.
See, I was going to say Northampton.
Or Northampton then. I'll go with Northampton.
Or Doncaster or Salford.
I think common say Northampton, so we'll go Northampton if we want to speed things up a little
Grimsby
bit.
for me.
Okay, so very quick vote then. I'll go for you all one at a time. Northampton or Grimsby? Who's dropping down? Ben?
Northampton.
Ned?
From where to where?
Northampton or Grimsby from top half to bottom half?
Northampton.
Warren?
Grimsby.
Mark?
Northampton.
Nick?
Northampton.
Woody?
Grimsby.
Craig?
Go on, Woody.
Grimsby.
Go on, Craig.
5 feet.
Northampton.
Oh,
Yes.
No.
you lot don't know what you're talking about.
So Stevenage is going here, yeah?
They
Top
are.
half.
Now, Stockport are, with a lot of bookies, the favourites. Are we all pretty much putting them in automatics, or?
Absolute rubbish.
Ooh.
I'm with you,
Like-
Wazza.
Absolute.
Wasn't it?
Where is this come from? This is a joke. I've been waiting for this all night quietly, but if they prove me wrong, I'll stick my hands up. But this is a joke.
Will you
Like,
get a tattoo of Stockport put on your arm or something?
it's a bit too early for that, Ned. But I can't have these. I can't even have these making the playoffs for me. You know what I mean? I just
Really?
No, I don't think so either.
I can't. We're going on about pressure here and stuff like that, and we were saying earlier about Bradford being under pressure, but these lads, they're looking at this and thinking, "Well, bookies have got us favourites." With no chance for me.
And I think as well, people have to realise how hard it is to do back-to-back promotions.
Yeah.
that hasn't happened as often as we think in the last sort of 10 to 15 years. And like what Warren has said, that is a lot of pressure to put on that team. And bearing in mind, it wasn't that long ago that Stockport were playing in the National League North. So,
Do the signings excite? I had a look at their signings earlier today, and I just think, where's this come from? Like, I'd have a
Fraser Horsfall.
Yeah, they'd be my
He's absolute top quality defender.
They've got that midfielder from Bolton. They managed to drag him to the National League. He was amazing at Plymouth.
And then two others I've noted in terms of players. Callum Camps, dropping down from League One Fleetwood.
Isn't that Paddy someone, that striker you speak?
Paddy Madden, right?
Paddy Madden.
A 1 in 2 strike rate last season in the conference, and he's got a career average of 1 in 3 over the last decade. There's a player that's going to bang goals in at this level without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, but
momentum.
You'd have them as Mark. You'd have them favourites, would you?
Runners up. I got them as runners up behind Bradford.
Wow.
I said on Friday I fancied them to win it.
I've got them 3rd, 4th up there.
I think playoffs.
Massively surprised. I think if they do playoffs, they've done very well.
But I don't think they're good. There's about 4 or 5 other teams that are better than them that could go into automatics.
Okay, so without wishing to get ahead of myself here, Warren, let's play devil's advocate. Let's say Stockport go into the playoff category, okay?
Yeah.
We've got Sutton, we've got Walsall, and we've got Tranmere.
But we can jiggle things around, can't we?
Yeah, no, of course. But we have 1 automatic promotion space left. Are you putting either of those 3 above Stockport?
He probably wouldn't have done, but you know the way it's panned out.
It's
going to be one of Crawley, Swindon, or Orient, isn't it?
Or your option is Swindon, Crawley, or Orient get automatics.
Yeah, I would put one of them up there ahead of Stockport, 100%.
Okay, fair enough. Let's put Stockport in the playoffs for now then, and then we'll work out who's going up.
Shall we finish start with who we think is going to be in the last relegation place?
Yeah. Let's work our way. Let's work our way up.
Through one of these 3 teams, then Sutton, Tranmere, or Walsall.
See, I personally don't think it'll be either of those 3. I think
I don't either. I think it's someone in this tier list here. Either Carlisle, Harrogate, or Rochdale will be.
Okay. Let's do it the democratic way again. Then we'll start in opposite. Woody, who's going into that relegation?
I still stick by. I think Rochdale will finish bottom.
Craig.
Carlisle.
Nick.
I think it's going to be second season syndrome. I'm going to put Sutton down there.
Oh, okay. Mark?
100%. I had Sutton in at 23rd. I think it's going to be a massive collapse this season for him.
Wow. Warren?
Yeah, with Mark, I think Sutton had a good season last season. They got found out towards the end. Without that start, they could have been massively dropped away. I think they will be really struggling. I was swaying towards that someone like the Harrogate. I think it's between Harrogate and Sutton for me. If you had to push, I'd probably sway slightly towards Harrogate going down, but I wouldn't be against the other Sutton or Harrogate.
Ned?
I was going to say Harrogate, but very convincing arguments. I'm looking at what I wrote in my notes for Sutton. It says about them raiding National League North and South for players. They've lost Adjaboy and then replaced them with Bloom and Kwame Thomas from Wrexham. We've got 9 goals in 35. I think, it's a good shout putting Sutton down, to be honest.
Okay, Ben?
I did have him 21st. Go on. Sorry, Ben.
Harrogate, but I think Sutton will struggle.
So I've got the choice of Harrogate or Sutton, is what we're saying, even though I wanted Rochdale.
I'd be happy with Sutton.
Okay, let's put Sutton in there, but under the caveat that it could be them or Harrogate.
So put Harrogate at the lower end of the bottom half.
Okay, so we got Tranmere next, and for me, they go in that 13 to 17 category, with probably Colchester or Crewe moving down. Ben, how about yourself?
I've got top 8 Tranmere.
Okay. Ned?
I think Tranmere have got rid of some decent experienced players, and I don't think they've replaced them. I think I put them down as 14th.
Warren?
This is how I had them better than Stockport. I think Tranmere are a good side. They've lost a bit of experience, but that experience was aged experience. You know what I mean? Peter Clark, I don't know if he could have done it again. I like the manager. I fancy them to be up there pushing towards the top half, but I know we're running out of spaces. But yeah, I didn't have them near the bottom like the others. I do fancy them to be up there.
Okay, Mark?
I'm with you in the 13 to 17 bracket. I don't think they've recruited well enough to be considered a contender for the top half of the table. I would push Colchester down into the 18 to 22 and have Tranmere around about 13th, 14th place. I've just realised Colchester are probably in more trouble than we realise, actually. Their owners have really shafted them.
Yeah. Nick? Here's where Nick, I'm sure Nick's predicted them to win it.
Yeah, I'm on a totally different tack to everybody else. I'm just thinking back, was it the COVID season when they got relegated?
Yeah,
Harshly. And I think they probably had a bit of a rebuild. Like they said, they got rid of some of the older players that might have struggled this season. And I think they're going to be the surprise package of the league. And I'll stick with them winning the league.
Okay, Craig?
Yeah, I'd put them in that bottom half, 13 to 17. I'd drop Colchester or Northampton.
Dropping Northampton again?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I'm just looking at this and going, this is nowhere near what I predicted, the whole thing. But with the exception of Bradford and Mansfield, I think, and I'm still trying to work out how Stockport get in the playoffs, but we've already had that argument. Tranmere, I would have probably put them in the 8 to 12 bracket, drop Grimsby down, and then thus drop Colchester down. But yeah,
that seems fair based on everyone's predictions. Let's do that. So Colchester moved down, Grimsby moved down, and Tranmere go in that bracket. But here's where I go controversial and say that I would have put Walsall in the 8 to 12 bracket.
Well, we've still got space to move someone up, haven't we? So
we have, and this is where it gets tough because I'm
looking. Well, shall we fill in that last automatic space?
Swindon.
Motion.
Oh, and stick Swindon up there.
Looking at it, I'm looking at who we've put there, and given that half of you won't let me put Stockport up there, I'm thinking Swindon.
Yeah.
Not going to be Crawley.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Yep.
Okay, so Swindon go up into automatics.
Stop shaking your head, Craig. Stop shaking your head, Craig.
It's not going to happen, mate. It's not. I'd love it to. If it's wrong, I'll fucking, I'll
Oxford tattoo.
I'll do a forfeit, not an Oxford tattoo.
So now looking at it, I'm trying to decide. I'd still think Walsall go in the 8 to 12 bracket. I would be more likely to put Stevenage up there, but I'll leave it down to you guys. We've now got 6 teams in that bracket. Who are we moving up?
I'd say Salford.
Salford.
Would he?
Probably say Wimbledon. Those.
Nick?
Well, I've got to go with Tranmere, haven't
I? Mark?
I actually had Walsall as my dark horses this season and to finish 7th in the playoffs. I just think they've signed
until we started talking.
Yeah, they have signed Peter Clark. I think this will be his swan song. I think he's just a quality player, regardless of his age. And they've got Andy Williams up front and also Douglas James Taylor. And those 3 signings alone, when we think that they're the ones that have gone under everyone's radar, they're going to do better than last season. They simply have to.
I said the same about Crewe though, because is it Crewe that have got Charlie Colkett and Connor Thomas?
That's why they're not going to do well.
Yeah, Colkett's a good player. I mean,
he is. Yeah. Thomas is shit.
Yeah, Thomas is shit. I think he was shit for us, but he was decent for Cheltenham, to be fair. So, that was one of the reasons why I had Crewe higher. But yeah,
Warren.
My surprise package this season was Doncaster Rovers. I think they'll do well. So for me, I was between Doncaster and Walsall, who goes up into the playoffs. I would sway probably just towards Doncaster for me.
So every team has now pretty much been mentioned by somebody, Ned.
Right. Okay. I put Walsall 18th. I thought their purchases look proper full on desperate. But that's just me. Andy Williams up front. What we're looking 5 goals a season.
Oh no, he's lost his. The thing about Williams, he was so good because he was so quick. He's lost that now.
Yeah. Well, what's he got? What's he got now? He can't finish. No pace. Nothing. Sorry. Desperate. Absolutely desperate. But yeah, out of those top half teams, I'd probably it's a toss up between, for me, it's a toss up between Doncaster and Stevenage.
Right, so from memory, Wimbledon got 1 vote, Doncaster got 2, Salford got 2, Stevenage got 2, Tranmere got 1, and Walsall, I think, got 2. And that's more.
That's about 10, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but that's because some people were voting for 2 teams.
I can't vote for Walsall because I think they're going to do rubbish. So who did I say for the highest out of those?
Well, I maybe go for like your second favourite. Do like what they call it, the preferential vote. So mine would have been Salford. Second place for me would be Stevenage.
Mine would be Stevenage. Second would be Doncaster.
There we go. Donny and Stevenage for me.
Woody?
Wimbledon and Stevenage are my 2, probably.
Mark?
I can't vote for anything that involves Stevenage and Steve Evans.
Ben?
Wimbledon, Salford.
Warren?
Donny, Rovers and Walsall.
Right, so we're saying it's between Doncaster and Stevenage then, basically. Nick?
Yeah, let's do that then, between them 2. Which ones?
Donny for me.
Doncaster.
Donny.
Doncaster it is.
Donny.
Doncaster get the
Stevenage.
playoff place. So
Stevenage.
it took a monumental effort, but eventually we got there. So if we're anywhere close to being accurate, congratulations to Bradford, Mansfield and Swindon, who are going up automatically. The playoffs will be contested between Crawley, Latent Orient, Stockport and Doncaster. Just missing out, Wimbledon, Salford, Stevenage, Tranmere and Walsall. Grimsby, Crewe, Gillingham, Hartlepool and Northampton will be the best of the bottom half. Newport, Carlisle, Rochdale, Harrogate and Colchester will just avoid relegation. And we will sadly say goodbye to Sutton and Barrow. Needless to say, if we were all to write out our 24s, it wouldn't look like that, but based on a democratic consensus, that is what Fools Rush In have come up with. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time this evening. It's been fun, it's been emotional, and it's certainly been engaging. We have a bonus little something to record for everyone, but don't forget, please, if you've watched this, let us know your predictions as well, by the way. But don't forget, Friday night, the eve of the new season, Fools Rush In go live. We are looking forward to showing you what we've been working on all season. But for now, from me and the guys on the panel at Fools Rush In, goodbye.
Good night.